majority of the people in India still think that AI means ChatGPT or AI is equal to Gemini.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know what actually AI is, can you tell them more about it?
At the core, AI is basically a mini.
Do you think AI will replace humans? A lot of youngsters are worried that AI will take their jobs.
We are already seeing.
I believe that there is this innate value system that humans sort of have, and individual value system is different. So it could be a case wherein it will not have sleepless nights if you're doing something wrong. Humans will have it. For a 45-year-old who's watching this podcast, can you tell them why they should care about AI and how should they adapt to it?
It might come out slightly harsher, but it's the fact is, like, if you are in your 40s,
it's not about AI replacing them. It's about them becoming irrelevant by choice. Welcome to House of Equentis, and today we have yet another special guest, a 24-year-old who is challenging the status quo of doing a corporate job, but in the same breath wanting to build something really, really big. And guess what? The space is what we all feel is the future about. Yes, maybe some of you have guessed it right. It's about AI. Now, AI is the buzzword, but let us hear from the horse's mouth, how is it actually changing a lot of businesses that could be the next revolution in making. So welcome, Ashish. I introduce with your age first because I'm very intrigued with a 24-year-old founder have already cracked the AI core and built an organization wherein we at organizations we are still figuring out how to possibly best use AI in our respective domains. So welcome again, and why don't you take us through your journey so far, including your Shark Tank stint.
All right, thank you. So a rough run through about my journey would be, like, I started young, like back in college. The trick was to just do multiple internships, understand where you really align. And I just found a gap while I was working in some companies, mid-sized, large-sized, an overlapping gap in terms of marketing and organic content distribution that most companies in India face. Realized that is where I had like a delta where I could add some value to the existing companies. So then I just started reaching out to people, and that evolved into a company. Never thought that I wanted to start one officially or like startup karna hai ya tech mein startup karna hai. It was just a college kid trying to figure out, and it panned out like that. Yes.
So आपके accidental entrepreneurship पे हम बाद में आएंगे. First, tell us about your journey. What did you study? Where do you come from? A lot of our viewers are actually young, aspirational, budding entrepreneurs or budding professionals who want to hear such great stories as of yours. But for that, let's take a step back. Let's go back into time. Tell us about what has been your upbringing about. Where do you come from, and so on and so forth.
So, like, I'm born and brought up in Pune. And naturally 10th के बाद like 95% आया तो everybody's like engineering करेंगे. And I had some inclination towards computer science, like always wanted, like was kind of curious, trying to understand कि क्या क्या नया है and like how can I learn skills. So that's when I started preparing for JEE. Like everybody starts their journey for if you want to get into computer science, because it's like you have to get into top college for placement. So plan तो ऐसा था कि I'll take computer science, अच्छी Google में job ढूंढेंगे, and then from a good college.
Google में job ढूंढेंगे.
Yeah, that is what my aim was when I started out. Because I used to really look up at all these big techs and like was really in awe कि what these people have done and built. It's really good. So I wanted to contribute there somehow. तो naturally फिर सब लोग IIT एम करते हैं in 11th-12th, but वो हुआ नहीं. Then I settled for the second best option, which was IIIT. So I got an admission at IIIT Delhi, which itself is a very rigorous institution. Like IIITs have very rigorous curriculum. So I got in there, did my computer science degree there, and in the process somewhere got in, like try to settle my first. When you aim for IITs and you don't get in, like most of people would relate, पहले 1-2 साल तो you were just trying to cope कि ठीक है इसमें से भी नहीं हुआ तो इसमें से we'll figure out and all. बट हमारे मेरे तो कोप के जर्नी में कोविड भी था तो एक तो यू हैव टू डू इट फ्रॉम होम पहले 1.5-2 साल तो ऑलमोस्ट घर से ही चला गया एंड देन योर कोपिंग कि ठीक है वी कैन डू बेटर देयर इज स्टिल होप फॉर अस एंड ऑल फिर लाइक थर्ड ईयर से फिर कॉलेज लाइफ आई वेंट टू कैंपस एंड दैट्स व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड एक्सप्लोरिंग थिंग्स एंड ऑल एंड दैट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम व्हेन आई लेफ्ट होम ऑल्सो मतलब अभी तक पूरा पुणे में ही था बॉर्न एंड ब्रॉट अप कोचिंग भी उधर ही था तो दैट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम व्हेन आई लेफ्ट हाउस लेफ्ट फैमिली एंड वेंट टू लाइक अ कम्प्लीटली न्यू सिटी so juggling that and then new friends then settling into college which has already started but now you have to officially again meet people to make friends so it was a very like unique sort of experience and yeah that's how the journey has been so far.
Tell me, how was it to shift from Pune to Delhi? Because Delhi is peculiar.
Yeah,
right. To get into an engineering college, that too in Delhi,
Yes.
and then you go to college in third year.
Yeah.
Tell us some interesting stuff, no?
Yeah, so obviously like for everybody around me it was a bad decision like they are like दिल्ली का वैसे ही नाम खराब है काफ़ी like कि बुरे friends मिल जाएंगे you would be in bad company the city is polluted and all of that stuff but I had decided कि नहीं अभी finally if grow करना है तो I have to leave the city like cannot be with parents for more so I took that call then yeah it was very unique in like several senses पहले तो culture because the kind of friends so triple IT का ऐसा है कि majority of their seats are filled by north and then the remaining 20-30% is open to the rest of the country so you would have like majorly north के batchmates so that उनका friendship culture then how they speak and talk वो settlement होने में थोड़ा सा time लगा मुझे the friends that you meet online and like you know when you go and meet them in person it's like two completely different things because online you just chat talk on meets वो था then obviously it's always a very crowded city like coming from Pune and Pune of COVID that I had seen to then directly going to Delhi it was a whole different shift altogether took some time to settle in I had to find new friends new places or new communities where I could dwell into and hang out but eventually ho gaya settle yeah
So tell me, you know, we know that you did the typical, we really feel good. At least I am feeling good that the typical path is still typical, right? Your parents want you to do engineering once you score good grades in 12th standard and then, follow your dreams to a good job in Google. By the way, I've been there. So, yes, of course, it's a great organization, but everything has its own pros and cons. But I mean, it's glad that I'm sure most of our viewers also would be in that I would say set path, modular approach, 10th करो 12th करो अच्छे grades लाओ नौकरी करो और जिंदगी में आगे बढ़ो but tell me most people in their 20s they're still figuring engineering के बाद MBA करनी है engineering के बाद मॉम डैड का बिजनेस ज्वाइन करना है या कुछ और रास्ता निकालना है and you of what I understand you were doing cold calling you were reaching out to clients with YC backed companies so tell us what was actually going on in your life or in your head when Vryse was just on a Google Doc.
Cool. So honestly like Vryse was never the plan it was something that eventually evolved and grew into तो ऐसा कोई plan के साथ स्टार्ट नहीं किया था कि कंपनी स्टार्ट करनी है द गोल वॉज स्टिल द सेम कि 4th ईयर में प्लेसमेंट्स आएंगे कैंपस पे आई टेक अप अ जॉब बट अंटिल देन नाउ आई हैड दैट बफर ऑफ लाइक 1.5 ईयर कि कुछ ट्राई कर लेते हैं एंड दैट वाज ऑल्सो व्हेन वन ऑफ माई सीनियर स्टार्टअप हैड फीचर्ड इन शार्क टैंक एंड व्हेन यू आर इन अ कॉलेज लाइक दैट वेयर योर पियर्स आर always trying to do something or other or trying to figure out you have that positive push like तुम्हें भी कुछ करना चाहिए right
but what were you trying because most of the startup founders or entrepreneurs they start out with a core that they want to solve for or a problem or a frustration that they want to end in the customer's life was that something that was clear to you
so before the 3rd year like when from the initial 2 years when I was also at home I took up like multiple internships like because I had some free time at hand and घर से ही सब हो रहा था college so I said let's apply to some companies and I had eventually during that time also stumbled upon SEO right and end goal था कि maybe we can try building a SaaS or something and उसके लिए marketing लगता so I learned about SEO and just to explore more it was just curiosity I joined couple of organizations as an SEO intern like to understand how is it done in the industry what is the marketing team approaching so I stumbled across multiple organizations there was this constant gap wherein people the marketing team and the tech team are not able to work in sync to derive a strategy which could lead to a scalable engine Besides that, this is very much dependent upon algorithms, and you are at algorithms mercy. And this is something most companies are not able to crack, and the ones that are able to crack end up becoming like the HubSpots of the world or other big organizations which have really nailed their SEO, right? And these are also case studies which most marketing people end up रीडिंग सो आई रियलाइज कि इसको अपन एज अ टेम्पलेट और अ स्केलेबल इंजन बना के कैन वी सेल इट टू ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस राइट सो आई सॉ दिस अक्रॉस सम ट्रेंड्स अक्रॉस सम कंपनीज आई रियलाइज एग्जैक्ट गैप्स क्या है and I thought ki let's try to solve this, right? Like you now know SEO, you know a bit of marketing, and you're already in a tech college, right? Can you build some systems and automations? So I did build that. I tried it on some of my own websites and also at the companies that I was working, and there was like good results, right? And basis on those case studies मैंने compile किया, ऐसा बहुत shabbily compile किया था in like 3-4 paragraphs कि जो cold calling में use कर सकते हैं. ऐसा कुछ deck नहीं था, ना company का नाम भी नहीं था तब. Like it was more so like a freelancer. I realized कि ठीक है let's try कि क्या होता है, like is this a common problem across industry, because मैंने 3-4 कंपनी में देखा है but I don't know कि इंडस्ट्री में अभी है कि नहीं. तो I started cold calling and reaching out to these founders over LinkedIn कि hey I did this in like organization X, I feel we can do the same thing for you if we follow this system, like would you like to give it a try. I did that like for couple of weeks, and then I realized like one founder reached out to us, and they were like a fresh grad from their Vryse batch. Tab Vryse used to take more startups from India. But yeah, so they reached back and they wanted to give it a shot. And then I realized, okay, this trend is replicating, right? A lot of people are eventually getting back, and it is a problem in the industry. And then I thought, let's go behind it. Let's see kya hota hai. And I then went on going in that. I went on going in that loop again and again and again, and eventually then it grew and scaled, and then I had to form a company to keep it running. So that was how it.
So, a real world or a real business problem, how do corporates or companies or businesses ace their SEO,
Yeah.
which in a way makes them more profitable?
Yeah.
So, you took that pain point,
Yeah.
right, and tried to solve for it. Brilliant. I think most of the businesses, like I started by saying, they start with an ambition
Yeah.
and a pain point.
Yeah,
Ambition to build something glorious to solve that pain point. But
Yeah.
over a period of time, that ambition becomes an aspiration, but the pain point is the fuel.
Yeah.
So we feel that till the time you are in sync with the pain of the business or the customer, it could really be fueling your ambition or aspiration to build the product better. Do you resonate with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think because after you have like built something and it starts to really scale and it becomes a real thing, you have these thoughts like what is going to happen next, right? You started this as a side project without a aim of scaling it into a company, but now it is one, and now you have a team whom you have to pay salaries at the end of the month. There has to be a constant driving force then, like what are you doing this for, right? And that is when then you look back at your journey and then ponder, okay, this is where it all started, and this is where you thought you could make a difference. And then you go back to the drawing board and like, what is your vision? You do that, and then what is it that you're going to tell your team, right? So that they continue to work with you, right? So yeah, I definitely resonate with this. And that's also the core of majority of organizations, and also not of the ones that probably end up failing eventually. So yeah.
Great. Now, majority of the people in India still think that AI means ChatGPT or AI is equal to Gemini.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know what actually AI is, can you tell them more about it at a very grassroots level?
Yeah. So this is like a very sought after trend now. Everybody thinks like they know AI if they're talking to chatbots or they're using these AI tools. But it's also good in a way that it has become so accessible to public and people have access to that kind of technology and tech. But at the core, AI is basically a mini brain, right? That can take decisions on its own and understand what is right from wrong, but only limited to the data that you provide it to, right? It's based out of algorithms, numerical equations, and a trained data set, right? So if I were to put it in a very grassroots level, you could think of it as a little kid for whom you have given a very short view of the world, right? Could be like, let's say, just colors, data of colors. But now after you have constantly been telling that kid over the next 2 months that these are all the colors, and they'll be able to discern them. At the end of the month, whatever you have, the answers that the kid is automatically able to give you, that is how AI basically functions. And it is not just the chat window. This can be applied anywhere, right? It could be for images, it could be for general predictions based off what data that you give and data that comes out.
If you were to exemplify this with Vryse's example, can you exemplify what exactly does Vryse do? Again, at a very grassroots
Yeah.
level.
So Vryse is a AI visibility engine, right?
Visibility engine.
Yeah, visibility engine. So our whole motto is to help companies simplify how their visibility is across all the AI platforms. And after understanding what their visibility is or where they stand, the next bit is how do you optimize
Only
for it.
across AI platforms.
Only across AI platforms, but now the search is evolving, right? It's mostly not just SEO or not just GEO, it's like search everywhere. These platforms are eventually merged into one, right? Because the customer is the one, these are all channels through which you're getting them, right? So eventually it's going to expand and become like search everywhere optimization. But right now we start with solving for AI, and that's how what we do at Vryse. Yeah.
Do you think AI will replace humans? A lot of youngsters are worried that AI will take their jobs. What's your take?
Honestly speaking, it will to a certain extent, given that we are already seeing layoffs around. And in a very simplified way, it would be like there are certain operations and tasks which are now being able to be automated, right? Given in the industry. Now, if I, as a company owner, my end job is to derive profits, right? If some consultant, ex consultant, comes to me that, hey, your 100 people team, this is what they deliver, we can give you a model or train a custom model for you which can deliver same or better outputs with just 10 of those now instead of 100. It's a no brainer for me, like, and that is what is happening in the industry. People are going to lose jobs if they don't adopt and use AI to be able to perform or deliver better than what they did historically, because the benchmarks is what is shifting right now. Right now, what a 100 people team used to deliver in the last decade, people expect the 10 people team to deliver the same thing, right? The vision of the world is changing. People expect more single people billion-dollar companies coming out than like mega giants, right? There is like this power distribution that is happening. So people will lose jobs, but on the same time, if you constantly evolve and adapt and are able to 10x or 5x your output from where you are, I think you're like just good to be in the industry still. Yeah.
So I think what I'm hearing from you is that it might not replace humans as such, but definitely it will be a balance between people who adapt,
Yeah.
upskill, and are able to use AI much more productively than their counterparts.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's a in a way synergy.
Yeah.
See, I feel that it's about intellects coming together, right? AI is not about artificial intelligence alone, but it's like an intellect of humans, intellect of the machine, which comes together to build something which could otherwise take a lot of time, right? So I think I believe that AI in a way, because it is a machine product, will never be able to completely replace human beings. Why? Because number one, it cannot think big, right? Of course, your input could be, or your prompt could be interesting, but from a human aspiration point of view, it cannot think big. AI will never fret over the right thing, right? I mean, if you're doing something wrong, I mean, it will never tell you that this is wrong fundamentally or whatever. I mean, I believe that there is this innate value system that humans sort of have, and individual value system is different. So it could be a case wherein it will not have sleepless nights if you're doing something wrong. Humans will have. I mean, today if Vryse doesn't grow at the speed, you will have sleepless night, but I'm sure your AI is, switched off. So I believe that there has to be a synergy. And I love the fact that you mentioned that all the young entrepreneurs, at least people who are especially of your age, in their 20s, doing some interesting stuff, building something, if they want to sort of be ahead in the race of growth, they will have to adapt and adapt very, very quickly. Tell us something that you feel is really, really the USP of Vryse, and in which you have adapted very quickly to cater to the market need.
Yeah. So like, if you have seen the journey so far, we came from more so like an agency background, right? Where we had clients, we understood their needs, we built custom automations and helped them scale, right? And it was a traditional SEO setup. The way we adopted, like the hard pivot that we took last year was when I was on call with a couple of customers. We started getting these queries like, hey, the last lead that we got mentioned that we came across you on ChatGPT, right? And some e-commerce brand saying, hey, we are seeing this revenue sources coming from ChatGPT, Perplexity, so on and so forth. And seeing what is happening in the industry, I realized, hey, this is going to be something big, right? And you need to step on it like right now. And that is when we like took a hard pivot. We like, let's build our own product. Like people are not able to understand. They're getting these inputs that, okay, we saw you on ChatGPT, or we bought this after looking at your product from ChatGPT, but there is no wider way of attributing all of it, or even understanding, are you still this first option, second option, or third option that is being recommended, or versus where do you stand in the industry. That's when we started to build this visibility engine to help brands attribute their revenue and then also take optimizing steps from there. I think that was one relevant shift or pivot which we had to take to stay
Tell me,
relevant.
how did you learn or figure out going about building all of this is in AI? I mean, were
Yeah.
you excited? Were you scared? How did you figure out?
So I think I was, whenever something new is thrown at me, I'm like more so excited. The scary part comes when you ask me to sell it to somebody, right? Like when somebody's going to pay money for it, that's the scariest part. But I think I like these two parts being separate. At least I am excited to try things out and build. As in, for me to get started, it was relatively easier because I was in a college where people were already doing research around core ML models, core AI models, and I could immediately reach out to some of the friends and say, hey, where could we get started from, right? And there were some really cool labs also on campus. As a matter of fact, I worked at an autonomous vehicles lab in my college. That is where I grasped a lot of core AI ML models, learning and concepts, and quickly adapted to it. And then I wrapped that project up, and then I realized, okay, now let's see how we can implement it to the business. This is where the scary part starts. Now you know how the things work, you know how to build them, and you probably also have a rough prototype. But how do you convince people that, okay, this is the thing, right? So that is how the whole adaption thing worked out for me.
No, I think you're spot on because a lot of people ask me at times that what is the right time to start learning something new. It could be AI in your case.
Yeah.
And most of the cases, my answer is that when you feel the most unqualified to do that thing,
Yeah.
that discomfort, right? That is not discomfort. That is actually a signal that you're growing. I don't know how to sing, but the moment I listen to a Atif Aslam song, I suddenly feel that, oh my God, I could sing. And I feel that now is the time to me, to get me a, good singer who can actually train me.
Yeah.
So I think some good takeaways for young entrepreneurs that I think it is that innate inquisitiveness, it is that innate discomfort that, okay, this is something new, I want to learn it.
Yeah.
That's how, the growth begins.
Yeah.
In our conversation, right before the podcast and earlier call, you spoke to me about SEO and GEO.
Right,
For our viewers, can you just tell us the basic difference, because some of them might not know and some of them would want to know definitely.
Yeah, right. So like SEO, most of you must be aware, it's like traditional search engine optimization, which wherein you ensure that your brand is visible across varied search engines like Google search, Bing, Yahoo for that matter, where traditional algorithms are used to rank those 10 pages. Wherein for Geo, it's now generative engine optimization. So generative engines are your LLM models where such as ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. When you want to optimize for these traditional search engines, the term is used as SEO. When you want to optimize your sites or businesses for these LLM models, you call it GEO. Although how we look at it is GEO is a natural extension of SEO. We don't say that both of these exist in singularity, like they are natural extensions of each other, wherein 5 years down the line, I would rather want SEO to be search everywhere optimization, which also includes GEO in it, and you just look at SEO, right? Because right now, if you divide these two, they create a difference in the industry, which is why a lot of marketers are also panicking. But as a company or as anybody who is building a brand right now, you should probably look both of them with the same lens and not two different things.
Tell me, I'm just curious, what you are building is in a way a category creation.
Yeah.
So there is no benchmark, not as many competitors, which means there is no case study to as such show.
Yeah.
the result.
Yeah.
So, like you rightly mentioned, the scary part is when you have to ask money for Vryse,
Yeah.
to sell your services. But how do you essentially end up pitching it? What is the USP?
Yeah.
Because most of the clients won't have a budget or won't have a vision till what you are sort of presenting. How
Yeah.
do you crack that?
Right. So naturally, this is a new category, but the rule of selling is you don't sell it as something new or what customer doesn't know. You sell it to what they understand in terms of business KPIs, right? So since I have been talking to customers, it's like they don't really care how you achieve results. They know that there's this organic way of bringing in leads and revenue, and then there's this paid way of bringing in leads and revenue. We just go with some data of some of our previous customers that we have worked with, that hey, we worked with them for 3 months, 6 months. This is how their traffic has evolved, this is how their sales and leads have evolved, and this is what we can deliver to you. We talk to businesses in the terms that they could understand, and not that we are going to do some fancy GEO or AI visibility. We'll say that you would be visible naturally, but eventually for business, all that matters is what is going to be the end outcome for me. So we talk in those terms, and that has so far worked out in helping them convince or allocate budget. Obviously every marketing team has budget for organic visibility and organic marketing, because this is something not new that has just started. It just, the new category or channel of visibility has been added to your traditional organic marketing, right? So that is how
We
it is
so
working.
much resonate with you, right? If I were to give you an example of our category, investment advisory doesn't exist,
Yeah.
right? And what people are actually bothered about is the end results.
Yeah.
What are the returns on my portfolio? वो बताइए आप कितना टका आएगा? So I still remember the conversation, which we keep having with our founder, Mr. Manish Goyal. That when we are building this category, it's our mission or it's our innate responsibility that we have to understand the end objective of our client, which is essentially long-term wealth creation.
Right.
Give him the right direction. Don't ever overpromise or say that okay, we'll make you a millionaire overnight, but tell him that consistency will pay off. You have to stay invested, stay course, and this is the future. If you have the right advisor with you, like you said, the right solution with you, you could grow. If you're not patient enough, I'm sure the growth could be slower.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, definitely.
So for a 20-year-old, I'm sure all of this is making a lot of sense. Now let us talk about for a 45-year-old who's watching this podcast. Can you tell them why they should care about AI and how should they adapt to it?
Yeah. So I think if it might come out slightly harsher, but it's the fact is, like, if you are in your 40s, right, there are people in their 20s who probably now have all the knowledge that you've gathered in the 20 years accessible through these LLM models that are in the market at the tip of their finger. The things that you slightly have better than them is understanding situational actions that you can take, but these people can probably deliver the same results as you using these AI models.
Yes.
Right? The output is going to be the same. Now for a company, this guy is going to deliver me the same results with a lesser pay. That puts the 45-year-old at a disadvantage, right? And if they want to still stay relevant, which they also have a lot of years of experience of seeing or understanding their industry, if they just add on this aspect of AI to them, they would still be irreplaceable, right? But if you don't, or if you're still hesitant by saying it's a bubble or it's not going to work out, there's going to be some 20-year-old grad who is going to deliver the same results, and well, you have the answer who the company would go for then.
So I think the takeaway, if there's a 40-year-old or a 45-year-old watching this podcast, it's not about AI replacing them.
Yeah.
It's about them becoming irrelevant by choice.
Yeah.
So if they consciously choose, like you said, to pick up a tool, to understand how it could help them become more efficient or become more productive, I think that could be their edge. Because I believe that the biggest asset for any 40-year-old professional who spent last 20 years or 15 years building a particular domain expertise is his or her judgment.
Yeah.
Right? Those 15 long years in a particular domain, his judgment would be far higher.
Yeah.
And if he or she could couple that with a willing, I would say, want to upgrade, to upskill, then it could be a beautiful marriage of intent and the latest tech, which is helping him become more efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yes.
Tell us on Shark Tank, people know you for your appearance and people know you for, the decision that you took.
Yeah.
Your ask was 40 lakhs at a 20 crore valuation.
Yeah.
And you close the deal at 40 lakhs for 4 crore. So that's roughly about 5x dilution. So when Anupam said 10%, what was going on in your mind?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. So, honestly, we never thought we would make it that far on the show. Reason being, like, it's this year where they adapted and got a lot of AI tech startups on the show. But like so far until now, it was more so very D2C focused as a platform, right? But this year they pivoted and we had like a lot of AI startups showing up. When we heard the offer on the when I heard the offer on the show, I was like definitely like very happy that okay, I have probably built something now that people are ready to invest in, because that itself comes as a validation. And when I heard it, naturally I was little in a fix, like okay, should I be accepting this or not? It's probably going to create some problems later for my next rounds. But in the moment I thought, one, I'm a solo founder, and I'm quite young, but having somebody, a mentor who has like that kind of experience, or that kind of companies which they have built, is going to be really beneficial in longer term, right? And probably would help us reach our goals at least 5 to 10 years faster than if I would wanted to build it myself, right? So after weighing those options, like the kind of value Anupam would bring to the team, and his mentorship would help us scale the company in what all ways, I just thought it was like a fair offer to start with, and start building and accept it. So that is all the thoughts that I had.
Did you think you were over ambitious?
Over ambitious in the sense?
In the sense of your valuations?
No, not really. Like I had some idea of what is the general valuations that were happening. I in fact feel I was slightly under ambitious in asking for the valuation that I asked for. But yeah, I think happy with the overall how it panned out. Yes.
How has been your journey post Shark Tank? I mean, now that the deal has happened and whatever valuations had happened,
Yeah.
is the support continuing? Are you getting the required mentorship?
Yeah.
or how's it?
So they have, so each shark has their own team. So naturally we are in the due diligence phase right now. But even apart from that, we have like calls to check in, and if there's any questions, you can easily approach them or their team, and then they'll just connect you with the right people in the industries or investors, whatever. And that kind of support is continued after the show. And I think we have had a couple of conversations with Anupam as well as his team to figure out what the natural next steps should be. And these folks have seen multiple brands come out from this limelight, right? No company is ready for that kind of exposure on national television. Like you can probably estimate or predict what is going to happen, but the things the way all your systems and processes come crashing down the moment this happens, you're left clueless. And that is where these folks come in and step in to tell you, okay, what should your natural next steps should be. That has been really helpful for us, at least for now.
So what's your learning? So if we were to crystallize into top 4 learnings in terms of top 2 to-dos and top 2 not to-dos for young entrepreneurs, if they were to get through Shark Tank.
Interesting.
Let's start with not to-dos first.
Not to-dos to not get through Shark to get through Shark Tank. Okay. So I feel don't start by the glamour of startup, right?
One.
That would be the first thing, because it's not easy, and just faking it to go there is not going to make it. That would be one. Second would be probably not to do's mein. Not understanding your competitive landscape, the market that you're building in. Oftentimes founders tend to underestimate the competition that they have. Just because you saw the industry, that doesn't mean nobody else did, right? So understanding is like, not just skipping the competition part is going to be very brutal mistake that you'll do to yourself in the process. Then if you were to think about the to-dos, one would be like, be very crystal clear about the problem that you're solving and the solution, right? The pitch itself is like very important, and it's not just because you want to pitch to investors. You need to have that clarity yourself, right? What is the core problem and what is the core solution you're offering? That would be one. And the second is, which I think from an investment perspective as well as from a company building perspective, is to to understand your differentiator, right? Like why you and why now, right? And what is your delta in building this journey? If you have these two clarities, I think you are like good to get started with.
Interesting. So, in a nutshell, what we understand is that Vryse and your team now, you help brands show up where AI looks like Reddit, Quora, citations. How does being visible to AI actually translate into money for a brand? Can you just exemplify by giving it a real life example, like any one of your clients?
So the way we explain it to the brands is, see, the end consumer is still the same, right? There's just this new channel which is gotten added to the whole discovery journey, right? So, and as a matter of fact, we know that there are these many active users on all these platforms, right? So there's no brainer that people are searching there. So that is like one aspect of it. The second is how it impacts in terms of revenues is when somebody searches or discovers a brand on these AI platforms, the chances that they're going to convert is way higher than if they would come to you through an ad or or like just stumbling upon you somewhere, right? Because the way these AI models present answers, it's like well researched format.
True.
And all of their answers are answered in the chatbot itself. If after this somebody's coming to your website, that means they have really high intent. One like very relevant case study would be that we have been working with this B2B SaaS company, which is also a VC backed startup. They work in logistics space. The founder like tried paid ads and cold calling for like 1 year, and then they realized you cannot really sell logistics solution to somebody who's not looking for it, because it's pretty natural. Like you cannot just say that, hey, if your e-commerce company will deliver your packages, right? That doesn't work. So they resorted to कि हम organic पे ही focus करेंगे, right? And we were working on their SEO for some time now, and we saw that okay, they're getting calls from AI. We started optimizing for there as well. Now, as of today, they roughly get 250-ish leads every month. Out of that, 20% come from these AI models, right? So that is how the change has been for them. And the founder ends up saying that after we do the qualification of these leads, 40% still remain from the AI models only, right? Because that is how high the intent is of people that come from these channels. And another would be in the D2C landscape. Would be like there's a brand that we are working with who we scale to like roughly 2 to 3 lakh monthly organic sales to traditional SEO. And when we started doing AI visibility for them, 20% bump on their organic sales just by doing the same efforts, but slightly different now, also focusing on AI models. So on an average, what we have seen is if you're doing any organic search visibility efforts, no matter in what industry, just by focusing on these AI platforms and doing things slightly differently, you can easily see like a 20% bump in whatever you're getting in terms of sales or also in terms of leads.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us, how have you grown? You help brands grow.
Yeah.
So in the last 1 year, how has your revenue grown month on month?
I think in the last 1 year, right? I think we have almost grown 100% in terms of annual revenue. We closed like in this financial year, we closed roughly 1.2 CR in annual revenue, and now we're already on the track of doing 2 CR, and I'm hoping that by the end of this financial year, it would be much more than that.
And how big is the team now?
Team is roughly 15 people right now.
15 people. How many clients?
Clients roughly 30-ish brands we're working with right now.
Lovely. So 100% growth
Yeah.
year on year, and I'm sure it'll grow well.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. My last question. 5 years from now, if Vryse has won, what does it actually look like? Marketing, landscape, revenue, clients, category. Can you just help me paint this picture?
Yeah. So I think most founders usually look at their vision in terms of revenue numbers that they'll achieve, which obviously I'm sure would come by. But for us, it's like the vision of being that one replaceable tool that every marketer would have in their stack, which helps them simplify this search everywhere optimization vision, wherein we are able to attribute revenues from different channels and on autopilot help them take right decisions, right? So that you don't have to lift a finger, but a website would be agentic enough to evolve itself, evolve its content basis on the analytics that are coming in, and become like a co-pilot to most of the marketers that are available, like marketers that are working across different industries. Considering of kind of clientele that we look to, or like we have an ambition towards working with, is definitely AI first companies like ourselves who would be category generating leaders of their industries. who want to keep it lean but also understand how relevant this whole organic growth or discovery channel shift is, and start working with us. So I think that's how I envision the brand to grow. And once we have reached there, this is how the whole landscape would look like.
Great. Thank you, Ashish. I think it was very, very interesting. And I must say that your curiosity as well as clarity of thought is a rare find. At least I have not spoken to many 20-year-olds who have that sort of clarity. So I must compliment your thought clarity. Again, my 2 cents on what you're building. Absolutely, GEO, SEO is a very critical pillar. Organic business is something that keeps the business sustainable, because over a period of time you can't keep just investing dollars in on ads and generating business. This is a critical, I would say, growth lever. And one thing that you also touched base on, that the searches on the AI platforms is definitely increasing, because these searches are far more deterministic, wherein people want to do actual business with the entities. So I'm sure, as in you guys progress and build on Vryse, it will be a much needed solution for most of the business houses. And let me tell you, right after this podcast, we're going to meet you for you to present a business solution to us.
Definitely.
So you have a probable client in your pipeline, right? Thank you for coming over. It was lovely speaking and very insightful. And I'm sure a lot of young entrepreneurs would have gained a lot from your curiosity and from your thinking big, that yes, something that is not, uncharted territories could also could be made big if you have the right curiosity and the intent. Right. Thank you. And thank you for watching this podcast. I'm sure you would have your nuggets of learnings from a very young founder who's just turned 24, but doing some interesting stuff. Also, for the 45-year-olds not to feel, left out, we definitely touched base on that, how they can definitely upskill and avoid the void that they have currently in their head of getting replaced or getting irrelevant. They could get irrelevant by choice, but if they consciously want to be in the league, they have to upgrade, they have to upskill, and they have to do it with intent. With that, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back next time with another interesting conversation. Cheers.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.